I go down to the bottom, she circles around and comes in, directly in front of me with the ray between us. And she's looking at me, looking at the ray as if to say, well, are you going to eat that?
Okay, Brian, so nice to talk to you. You have the best job ever. You get to swim with the whales. And here's my little whale that they sent me, Nat Geo.
Oh, I love that. I didn't get one of those. But yeah, no argument there. I love what I do.
Now tell us, you're an explorer, you're a photographer. Has your specialty always been the ocean, the whales, or how did you get to this point?
Yeah, it's always been the ocean. I from a young age fell in love with the sea and just wanted to be an ocean explorer. And I started scuba diving when I was about 15 years old. And then maybe a year or two later, I discovered that photography was the way I really wanted to explore the ocean. The notion of using a camera to travel around the world and tell stories about the things I was seeing in the ocean really appealed to me. So I set my goal very high to be a National Geographic photographer. It was a very lofty dream, coming from a little working class textile mill town in New England. But the dream came true, and it just keeps getting better every year.
Yeah, this 4-part series that will air on Disney Plus, Secrets of the Whales. It is amazing. I'm so in love. I love whales. I've told you before that.
Yep.
We always go whale watching in hopes of seeing whales. But this one just takes you right up to, to their faces.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've ever seen nursing. The whales nurse, the calves nursing on their mothers. I don't think I've ever seen that in a documentary.
Right, especially with the sperm whales. When we captured that scene in Dominica in the Eastern Caribbean, the scientist who's been studying them there for 15 years told me that night, he was so excited. He said, Brian, there's an old saying in the whale biology world that says, someday we will know everything there is to know about whales, except how a sperm whale calf nurses. They never could figure out how that big lower jaw would work. But here we have the pictures and the footage and the milk going into the mouth. So, but I think for me, to be trusted by the mother who's, down there 15 meters deep, just with her baby, and I have to hold my breath and free dive down, and she didn't swim away. She wasn't afraid. She really let me into her world. And that's just extraordinary.
Yeah, that was amazing, because the sperm whale is the whale in Moby Dick. So you would think you'd be fearful. Would you ever jump in the water with a grown whale?
Yeah. Well, the mom was an adult, and there was many adults around. They live in families. So there's a family unit of, maybe 8 or 10 or 12 adult sperm whales all around. And absolutely, despite Herman Melville's portrayal of Leviathan smashing ships and killing sailors, the reality is that the sperm whale has the biggest brain of any animal on the planet. It is very shy and gentle, curious, but loving. These are animals that spend most of their days in the deep ocean foraging for squid. But every few days, or maybe every day, if you're lucky, you'll see them come together and just do these socializing moments where they spend maybe an hour just rubbing and, gently biting and playing with each other. So, even though life is hard in the ocean, they have learned to make time for one another. That gives them joy. It brings them bliss. And I think that's the message.
And after watching the series and watching elephants and just the way the social structures, the mom is basically, the dad comes, impregnates, and leaves, right? Yeah. And the mother teaches everybody, the young, how to feed. Pretty much everything.
Yeah, many of these whale families, these whale societies are matrilineal. They are led by the older, wiser females of the group that make all the decisions. So, the future is female, and having future calves, producing female offspring is very important to the family. As you say, in sperm whale families, for example, when the males get to about age 14 or so, they swim away. Eventually, I think they return, but it is the females that are the glue that hold it all together.
Well, it's funny watching this and just watching these nature docs. You realize, like, even humans, we have that baby daddy term, But it's
Yeah.
essentially, it's nature, right? They impregnate and they leave.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It really is. And, we're just beginning to scratch the surface of understanding the complexities of these things. It's hard to study in the ocean, to get out there with weather and visibility and boats and all the things you need to do. But you're right. I think that's absolutely true.
And you focus on orcas, the sperm whales we mentioned, the beluga whales, which I love. I saw one up close at SeaWorld, and he just
Oh,
looked happy. I mean, I don't know, I know the whole controversy, but he just
hmm.
looked like he had a smile on his face. He was playing. I did not want to leave. I think I sat there for an hour watching him. It
Yeah.
was just so magical. And he was performing for the viewers, for us humans.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was talking to somebody the other day who actually saw a similar experience. They saw a beluga whale in captivity, and they said that this beluga whale would take a mouthful of water and squirt it over the top to have fun squirting people outside the tank. So they are very clever. They're very playful. They are very social. Again, because they're in the Arctic, where I worked in the Canadian high Arctic, there's not much of an infrastructure. You have to go to these remote places. It's harder to study animals like that. But we were able to design and build these remote cameras that captured footage of belugas that has never been seen before.
Now, killer whales are, I mean, that's orcas. That's how they get their names, because they go after, actually, we went on a whale watching trip in Monterey, California.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we were lucky enough to see orcas, but then they explained to me, because I wondered what they were doing. And somebody explained to me that they were feeding off a blue whale they just killed. And I was like, oh,
I know.
it was like
Yeah.
happy. And then it turned sad. I was like, that is so sad. And they explained to me how they corral them away from their mothers
Hmm.
and then kill them. And I thought, oh my God, that's so depressing.
Yeah, it can be pretty brutal to see how they operate. Orca, in my estimation, are arguably the most intelligent animal in the ocean. They are scary smart, and so capable. But I've never felt threatened when I'm in the water with them. They've never been intimidating to me, and I feel fine with them. But it's what animals do, right? I mean, they have to
Yeah.
eat. They know how to do this, and the important thing is that this is their culture. So orca have figured out how to feed on their preferred ethnic food depending where in the world they are. So the ones in New Zealand like to eat stingrays, and the ones in Patagonia like to eat seal pups, and they are the only orca in the world that do that particular thing. So this is their culture, and you've got grandmothers teaching the mothers and passing it down generationally. So they're not only teaching the skills that they need to survive to their offspring, but they're teaching their ancestral traditions, their heritage, their cultures.
And in the first episode, we see the orca offers you a meal.
That's right. Exactly. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. You couldn't script it. When I created Secrets of the Whales, I had a list of things we hoped to see and be able to shoot, but you never could predict something like that. I get in the water with these orca in New Zealand that are hunting stingrays, and an adult female is swimming to me with a stingray hanging out of her mouth, and then she drops it in front of me. I go down to the bottom, she circles around and comes in directly in front of me with the ray between us, and she's looking at me, looking at the ray as if to say, well, are you going to eat that? And then when I don't, she gently picks it up and turns, and another orca, and they come in and they food share. So it's James Cameron, upon looking at that, said, it's like some cultures, they offer food. So maybe that's what's happening here.
Yeah, you mentioned James Cameron, by the way.
Yeah,
He's executive producer. Sigourney Weaver narrates
Yeah.
it. It's a great collaboration. I mean, James Cameron, we know how much he loves the ocean and respects it. So it's great to have him as a partner, right?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I'd known Jim from meeting him several times in the past at National Geographic and so forth, but to have him come to a project like this and be the executive producer, he brings such a unique set of skills, unique in the world. I mean, he is this master storyteller who can create fictional worlds and then design and build the equipment necessary to film them in a new way in 3D and so forth. But he's also this pioneering ocean explorer that has gone to the deepest parts of the ocean and really understands the science and the narrative and the storytelling. So as an EP, he can oversee this material that's coming back and sort of craft it into a great narrative that tells a story. And that's what I think Secrets of the Whales is about. It's about a great story of these families and societies in the sea. And Sigourney Weaver, yeah, same thing. I mean, as I mentioned, so many of these societies are led by the wiser, strongest females of the group. They're matrilineal. And to have the gravitas of Sigourney narrating this series, I think is just wonderful.
Are there any behaviors that you have to watch when you're in the water to make sure that they don't feel threatened?
You mean the whales being threatened?
Yeah, the whales, like if maybe if they see a spear, they know that,
Oh,
it doesn't mean a
yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, no, right. It's just, it's actually a very passive way of doing things. With all the whale photography, 98% of what we did, it was just free diving. So myself or the other camera operators would just be breath holding. So we're waiting till the moment is right. We're swimming down very quietly. I often am trying like heck to slow my heart rate. I don't want to seem threatening in any way. And we move in very, very slowly. This is why it took 3 years and 24 locations. We're giving ourselves the time to let scenes unfold. We're not forcing anything. And I think, if the whale doesn't want us there, they'll just gently swim away. But, more often than not, if you spend enough time, they will allow you into their world, and we can get close and we can get those intimate scenes that ultimately appear in the show. So, I don't think there was anything that we bring into the water that would be threatening to the animals.
And then you also examine the languages of each of them, and they're also different. How did you capture the audio? I mean, is it separate? You capture the video and then the audio separately because it's a different technology?
Yeah, sometimes. So you make a good point too, that the science of this, the whole project is founded in science. It's rooted in the latest and greatest science that is sort of shedding light on these cultures. And one of the cultural elements is that some of these whales have unique dialects. So sperm whales, orca, they are speaking different dialects within their clans, within their families and so forth. So sometimes that can be captured on the video camera itself, but generally speaking, the quality will be better if you're using a hydrophone, if you're dropping a separate hydrophone with high quality digital capture capabilities available. So that's what we're doing. And we're often marrying that with the motion picture that we're capturing as well. But again, under the guidance of the researchers to make sure that we get it right.
How many species of whales are there? Because there's others you didn't cover, like the blue whale and like you mentioned, the humpback whale.
Yeah, there's dozens, right? There are dozens and dozens. I should know the answer off the top of my head. I would want to guess, but I don't want to be wrong. But yeah, for this one, I think my idea was to look at these 4 or 5 species as a way of telling a broader story about culture. But you're absolutely right. I mean, they all have rich societies and cultures, and we're just at the beginning of fully understanding them.
Well, thank you so much. I cannot stress how beautiful this the 4-part documentary series is. And I think it's great for everybody, especially kids are going to love it, just the way it's made so that they understand like how family works in human form and also in these mammals in the ocean.
Exactly. No, you make a great point. I think that's the message, that through that lens of culture, we see our planet, our oceans in a new way that is a bit of a game changer. So yeah, it's wonderful. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And it'll be on Earth Day on Disney Plus. So go check out these cute little, I love it. I'm not giving it away. I usually give things away, but not this one.
Not that one.
Not
All
that
right.
one.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks,
and great
Lupe.
work.